Hey, pilot, welcome back to Ready for Pushback solo show style. It's Thursday. I hope you are having a great day. I have been flying a bit and hanging out a bit and also reaching out to other pilots, having conversations with them about where they are in their journey, how to succeed, and all the pressures that we face these days in the world of aviation. Every time you turn around, it seems like there's some bad news happening on the headlines in aviation, and it can get really demoralizing.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Today I want to talk to the pilot that is probably trying to figure out how to get into this industry and how to get to the place where they can be successful. And there's two types of people that are basically in a similar situation. There are people that are right on the cusp of starting flight school, or maybe they had just started looking at 2022 and 2023 and thinking this is going to be great and I'm going to make it happen. And now they're a little discouraged. Or even the military folks that are getting out of active duty and they have no control over their timing, and it can just be wildly frustrating. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what to do and what the potential options are and how to get from where you currently are to a successful job in aviation where you get to do what you really love and what you are passionate about. And so this is for you, right? Because there are a bunch of difficult choices that you are going to have to make. And you need to be able to weigh all the options and think about deliberately how you can get from where you currently are to that successful job. The first thing I want you to think about is, how are you going to financially cover the cost? How are you going to get from where you are to where you want to be, and what is it going to cost and what is it going to look like? And so you have to weigh all of your options, right? You have to know, are you a solo income earner or do you have a spouse that works? And what kind of money does that look like? If you give up your income, can your spouse and their paycheck cover what your family needs? What are your responsibilities as a person involved in a relationship? Maybe there are children involved. Maybe there are not children involved. And the key with that is a budget. And you really, really owe it to yourself to sit down and sketch out a real budget. You need to create a spreadsheet. You need to list all of your expenses for every single month and try to come up, if they're variable expenses, lean on the heavier side of what is difficult, what is going to be the most restrictive, and list that out. And then find out where the income sources are. Write them down. Do the spreadsheet and figure out what the gap is, what the delta is. And I want you to work on creating a worst case scenario plan. And then you've got to war game it out and see how you can make cuts to your expenses. How deep can you cut? How long can you sustain that? And how long do you really want to sustain that? Because that really will help you see what your glide slope really looks like. Lifestyle creep is a real thing. You should really consider what that lifestyle creep really looks like. You probably don't live in the same fashion that you lived when you were in your early 20s. And there's a good probability that the way you live now is a lot of your desire about how you want to live. And so sometimes you might have to decide you want to give it up, give up part of it, give up some of it. That is just your option and choice as you go through. What does it look like if you decide to downgrade your lifestyle? Is it selling a house, moving in with family, living in an apartment? Is that something that's required? Is it a short-term gain? Is it not? You really, really have to weigh that part out. If you're going to start cutting things and transitioning things away, having a deep dive on that and really thinking about it is an important part of where you want to be. And where do you anticipate subsidizing additional income if you don't? That's where you really need to get creative, because you need to figure out how to pare down your expenses while you are on the path to that aviation job that you want. Can you pare down your expenses that much? Can you find some new income sources? Is there a temporary thing you can do? Is it Uber? Is it contracting? Is it some kind of 1099 job? There are a lot of different opportunities out there, and you should explore all of them and cast a wide net on that. You'll hear me all the time talking about casting a wide net, and that's what it's all about. Look at the debts that you have. Do you have a car loan? Do you have school loans? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have personal debt that is involved in your life? How do you get rid of those debts? How do you absolve yourself of that? Because if you are planning on that, then you can start deliberately moving forward to finding solutions to make that happen. What type of short-term compromises are best for you and for your family? Is it, like I mentioned, selling the house? Is it taking your kids out of private school? Is it selling that vehicle? Is it selling those motorcycles? That's what I did. I had a bunch of motorcycles, and we sold a lot of them. And I love a motorcycle. I just do. I used to rebuild stuff and work on stuff. And that was something I gave up. And that was something that was hard for me to do, but I decided to do it. Those decisions are really what it's all about. So once you figure that out and lay it out and write it all down, then you need to start taking action. If you have time to think about, if you're leaving the military and you've got a few years, maybe you can start dumping money into a savings account such that you can offset the future pain that you're expecting. Maybe you can start right now into getting some flying that you think you're going to need to get to that point. If that's true and you have time, then that is your biggest asset, because you can use that time to develop your plan and get ahead of it such that when the income that you were primarily living off of stops, you have a plan on what to do. I also want you to start taking action by tightening up your resume and preparing yourself. You need to prepare yourself to interview. You need to be ready to bump into somebody that gives you some kind of unexpected interview, because no matter how hard you try, if you're not prepared to take advantage of the thing that is offered to you, then it's all for nothing. And so prepare yourself and find that place to where you are confident in your own skills. Then I want you to start researching deeply, like all the different variety of flying opportunities that you can think of. If you're military, start looking at those military contractors. Look at companies like Sikorsky or L3 Harris or whoever that might be flying, that might be looking for pilots. Reach out to the people you know and network yourself and find out what it is like working for those companies. Look at small flying opportunities all over the US. Figure out who's flying what their requirements are, what you have in your resume that aligns with that, and reach out and network yourself. Look at international flying opportunities. Look down in South America. Look in the Middle East. Look in Asia. Is that something that is worthwhile? Is that something that you can work with your family to go do and pursue for a while you build hours? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you should reach out early. You should find out what each company has for competitive minimums. You should see where you stand in that line and decide what you think would work best. Are there any part-time flying opportunities around you? Can you find a way to get in front of people? Where are the airports that are within driving distance to where you are? How far are you willing to drive? Go visit them. Go talk to the FBOs. Go find out what companies are at each airport. Bounce around, get those resumes in a stack and just go from place to place to place and be ready to get shot down every single time and get used to it and get in the groove, because you never know when your resume is going to pop back up and somebody's going to say, oh man, I remember this person came out and saw me. Let me give a call. So we just got a new opening. You never know. Look at those different companies and pursue them. Go far and wide, turn over every single rock that you can. The more time you give yourself to do this, the more beneficial it's going to be. The more opportunities, the more people you're going to meet, the more networking opportunities you're going to have. Also, if you happen to be a military person, why don't you consider those other military opportunities? Think about the Air National Guard. Look across the U.S. Every state has Guard units that fly different stuff. There's different degrees of need out there. Some groups really need pilots. Some are really full-on pilots, and look for what is the most probable opportunity for you. Call the squadrons, reach out, see who their hiring people are. Can you affiliate? Awesome. Maybe there's a job in the reserves for you. Maybe you can find a flying gig. Maybe you can find a non-flying gig where they want to put you on orders for a period of time. If so, that, just buys you time, gives you an opportunity to do things on the side. Now, if you're going to go deploy and be stuck somewhere and not fly, that's probably less of a good opportunity. Yeah, it's giving you income, but it's not giving you that advancement in your flight time and your aviation life there. Reach out to all your connections. You've flown with a lot of people. You know a lot of people. You've met people in the industry. Reach out to them. Be consistent. Be persistent. Those are things that will pay off. Look at local flying clubs. Think about things like the Civil Air Patrol. What about law enforcement opportunities or Border Patrol or Homeland Security or FBI or any of those government organizations? Maybe they're hiring. Maybe you have a friend there. Turn over those rocks, y'all. For my military bubbas, can you delay your end of active service? Maybe that's something you want to consider. Maybe it's not. Can you stay for another couple of years? Are you being forced out? Or is it a retirement thing? Did you made 04 and you hit your 20, or you're at your 28 or your 30 or whatever it is? If you're being pushed out for retirement, nothing you can really do about it. But if you can extend your time, maybe it's something that's interesting to you. Maybe it's not. Maybe it totally is miserable in the squadron or whatever you're doing. You have to weigh that out, right? Finally, I want you to think about all the different side hustles that you can do. We talked about Ubering or whatever 1099 stuff. Are there non-flying opportunities at airports where you can keep your name and your face in the mix in that network? There might be opportunity. Do they need people that have a background in safety? Do they need a standardization or an operations person? Great opportunities are out there. Look at all the different training squadrons around the U.S. They have contractors and government civilians that work for them. Maybe an opportunity. USA Jobs is the website where people get hired when they're looking for pilots. That's usually where they post the information. Border Patrol has it slightly different, but most of the other government organizations do everything off of USA Jobs. If you decide that you're going to go to some kind of non-flying full-time job, but you still want to fly, I want to really encourage you to create space in your life to pursue flying and building your hours towards your goal. It might be slower, but it's something. And that is a really good way to stay motivated. It is really difficult to take a 40-hour-a-week job and look for flying opportunities, but it can be done, and you have to create space in it for yourself. Make sure that when you are working in that 40-hour-a-week job, that you are giving it your all in that job, so that the people that are your new bosses don't see it as if you are just there for a temporary stay. You want to convince them that you're part of the team, that you are a person that they were smart to hire, and that's just an important way for you to live your life. Be honorable with that, and make sure that you're on the up and up. You don't have to tell them that you really want to be a pilot and you're hoping to leave that job, but you should just be dedicated and be a good worker and be a good person that they can rely on. That, I think, is super important. And remember, all of these things are basically short-term pain for a long-term gain. And the only way it's going to work is if you and the people in your life that are important to you, like your spouse and your kids, that they have to be on board. And I want you to focus on your family relationships first, y'all. The sacrifice is really important, but there's a fine line between sacrificing and ignoring your responsibilities to your family. So don't fall into that trap, and make sure that you're leaning forward with that. Communication is key. Communication is vitally important, and that's the thing that's going to make it or break it. It really is. So just both you guys go in with eyes wide open and have those conversations when you need to have them. There's so many opportunities in aviation, and timing is everything. And sometimes it feels like a bad time, but you never know when that bad timing is going to pivot and all of a sudden it's the best timing. So I want you to enjoy the process, but remember that being a pilot, it doesn't define who you are as a man or a woman. You're made for much more than aviation. So be present to those who are most important to you. And if you do that, you'll succeed. You'll win, and you'll have a great time doing it. So I hope that this episode was helpful to you. I hope that it was fruitful. There are a lot of different opportunities. There's a lot of downfalls and a lot of risks, but weigh them out and go in with eyes wide open, and you will succeed. Thanks for swinging by the show. If you get a chance, hit it up on Apple Podcasts and write me a review. That is so helpful. And I'm thankful for you. So I'll see you at the next interview episode. Hey, pilot, before you go, make sure that you take a quick second, like and subscribe to the podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're listening on one of the podcast streaming services, you guys are the best. So please like it, subscribe to it, and maybe, if you have a chance, write a quick review and tell everybody what you think about the Ready for Pushback podcast. Thanks.